Hello, good morning, good afternoon, good evening. I'm going to get straight in with it tonight. I was a little bit late, sorry about that. Hello, it's Sunday. It's time to talk about some more nonsense. This week, we're going to talk about the BDI patch antennas because my review is coming on that this week. Let me do that so you can see what I'm talking about. These things here. We're going to talk a little bit about this that Caddx have sent me. Thank you, Caddx. I do appreciate it. Very interesting, actually. My thoughts are shifting a little bit on this product, and what I just mean by it, it's far more technically interesting than I think there are use cases for it, but that isn't to say it's not an interesting product. And there's some stuff going on here that we haven't seen from Caddx before, and I will touch on that a little bit, but you're going to have to wait for the full review to find out everything. We're going to talk a little bit about the big controversial one this week, and it's not controversial, but it was this. But there does seem to have been some noise around the GX12, my new favourite radio, I will add. We're also going to talk about Jumper because I'm being accused left, right and centre of, am I paid by Radiomaster? Are Radiomaster paying creators to not talk about Jumper products? Am I intentionally not showing Jumper products in reviews? Why wouldn't have I shown that in the review with this? So we'll talk about that a little bit as well. And we'll talk about a few other things as we go through, including the Moose Scanner, which I put the review up today, which I'm quite impressed about. Now, I now need to make some bloody space in front of me before we get into this, so let me just move some stuff around here. I hope you're all well. I hope everyone's had a good week. I guess we should address a little bit of another DJI leak. I left it out of the doc title, and this turned up on Reddit, I think, first. This isn't the first place this picture turned up. For those who are around on my Discord, you will know that I said you will get the leaks this week, and the reason I said you'll get leaks this week is because the KOLs have now got their hardware. My understanding is DJI have shipped out O4 to the people who are going to be involved in the launch. I'm not one of them. I don't have it, so don't expect anything from me. There will not be a video from me on the 12th of January with regards to O4. There will not be a review from me on the 12th of January with regards to O4. There will not be anything from me on the 12th of January with regards to O4 in any way or form. And it will not be the 12th of January that I will release content around O4. It will be after the 12th of January that I will release content on O4. So all I can say is I won't be making any content on the 12th of January. That's all I can say. We'll have to all wait and see. That's all we can do. Genuinely, I won't even be making content that week. As for how I'm expecting this to go is, I'm going to cover it on the Sunday news. Which will be this. I'm sort of this. But I won't be making content for probably 3 to 4 weeks until I get my hands on it and test it, because I can't make content if I don't test it. And frankly, DJI can go fuck themselves if they think they're getting promotion from me but not having me included. So I will release the full thoughts and review, and if someone does it and does all of the RF testing and everything, it means I don't have to. So that's great, and I won't worry about it either. But what I'm not going to do this time is I'm not going to let them have the free press without actually being involved. So that's the rule I'm going to run with it. And it will take time. It will take time. You know, there's a lot to understand. It's a new platform, so we've got to understand that. We know what it will look like. Like, it's going to look... Where is it? I've lost my Avatar 2. It's going to look like... Oh, I've lost it, and it's in front of me. Look, the Pro's going to look like this, right? That's what it's going to look like. So don't get all hell-bent on, oh my God, that's great, it's going to be so much better. The chances are it'll look like that. The real interesting is a smaller, lighter version. How well will the camera do? How well will it behave on the light? That remains to be seen. The expectation on the light is that it'll be worse than the Pro, worse than O3 is what I'm expecting, and that's okay. That's to be expected. The design of the light camera is a bit weird. I'm going to be honest with you. It looks a lot, it's very flat, and the lens is flat. I tell you what it looks like, for those who haven't seen it. So this is the leak that happened today, which is a picture of the box. Who knew? What is a bit weird, though, is that seems to say f2.0 again. So there seems to be some bouncing around between f2.8 and f2.0. There haven't been public images of the light cam. Doesn't mean I haven't seen it, but there hasn't been. But if you go to HD0, right, I'll show you what it looks like. It looks an awful lot like HD0 shop. It looks an awful lot like the Nano camera. Let me just find it. HD0 Nano. I've got one somewhere, but it might be quicker for me to do it this way. Or is it the Micro? Yeah, this one here, right? So, but imagine this with a flat lens. Okay, so imagine this camera with a flat lens. It looks a lot like that. It's like just a big flat square block, but it even looks a bit taller. It's a bit weird. But it's got a completely flat lens down the front. So yeah, it's a bit of a strange one, that one. But we have had, you know, the box has appeared. So we'll just have to wait and see. You know, it's not particularly exciting, the box. Let's be honest. We know it's coming. So it is what it is. It doesn't look like it sticks out at all. No, the lens is just flat to the front. Basically, imagine just having a flat to the front lens. It's a bit strange. But it'll be what it'll be. So, look, there is a lot to understand. What will be quite interesting. It doesn't look pinhole. It looks like the Neo camera, just flat, to be honest. What will be interesting is the RF behavior around the race mode. We don't really know much about that at all. That's completely new. You know, you got the iNav OSD, which is nice to see. There's a number of interesting features. Standout change, it's hard to say. You know, there's nothing magical here on O4. There's nothing dramatic. You know, it is evolution. So, you know, the race mode is particularly interesting. They've brought back the power options, which is nice. Well, they should be there at least. You've got, I'm trying to go through it off the top of my head, because obviously I don't have it, but I think the lower latency should be nice. There's nothing I really felt was, oh my God, that's great. You know, I think we're going to have to see the stuff around gyroflow and that stuff. We're just going to have to see. But let's wait and see. Look, there's a lot. The thing with DJI, there's always the odd surprise and there's always the odd downside. You know, there's always a bit of both, isn't there? There'll be some good, there'll be some bad. There'll be some nice stuff, there'll be some downsides. There will be stuff that hasn't leaked. That is inevitable. There will be stuff that we don't really fully understand, like the race mode. Watch there be no... Look, Goggles 2 support at launch is complicated. My understanding from not one person, but a few people, and it is more than one, is that DJI was still having problems with Integra and Goggle 2 support, and it wasn't clear if that will be there at launch. It hopefully will be, but they were having real issues with it. Let's just see if it's fixed. And this isn't DJI not wanting to. The truth is there was still issues with it working. I wouldn't have originally expected Goggles 2 and Integra support on day one. I would have expected them to push for N3 and Goggles 3. But DJI's in a bit of a complicated situation here. They want to go against Caddx. They really want to take the FPV market back from Caddx. And as a result of that, they can't really afford to wait on the Goggles 2 and Integra. That's the problem. So they're in a bit of a catch-22. What I will say is, and I'm not a person that wants to defend DJI, but my understanding is if it doesn't launch with Goggles 2 and Integra, it's not necessarily intentional. There are genuine issues. There's no reason they can't fix it because this works with it. But you've got to take that into account. So let's wait and see. But yeah, look, we're less than a month off now, which is good to see. You're going to have the Flip coming out. I think the Flip is coming before it. I can't remember what the date of the Flip is. You've seen leaks. I could be wrong. I can't remember. Someone did tell me, but I've forgotten. But yeah, we're just going to have to wait and see. Look, you know, the Flip, if you haven't seen, oh my God, this thing. If you haven't seen this, this is the Flip. Let me just find it. This is a drone really designed for the Chinese market. I don't think it's going to be big in Europe or the UK. Let's go to Jasper. X27. Where is he? Jasper will have it. If you haven't seen the Flip, it's this thing. It looks like a Stormtrooper. It looks like a AT-AT Walker. Apparently, from what I've been told, yeah, it is really aimed at. There's imagery somewhere of it folding out. Where is it? There you go. It's a big thing over that neck of the woods, apparently. It's a big thing over there. I don't see this coming on over here, but look, it's at least it's useful for Star Wars. DJI is, don't assume DJI is playing the same game as they have in the past with this, with previous support. DJI is going after Caddx, and they're going after them big style. And they want as many people on board as they can. Is that a direct attack to quash the HoverX? I don't know, Iriscape, because it doesn't really even compare to that. Apparently, and I don't know how true this is, someone said to me, things that flip is very big in Asia. And I don't know how true it is, but products that flip open, you've got the Samsung flip phone, you've got the Hover Air, which flips. Apparently, they like things that flip over there, that fold out, that flip out. And apparently, there's a market for something like this, like that. Bagzilla, DJI care. They want your money. They don't care once it's done, but there are times they care and there are times they don't. Right now, they want to sell as many product as they can. DJI have woke back up. Let's just say that. But, so no, look, that's the score with O4. It's happening. It's not super exciting. You know, I think there'll be a bit of an anticlimax with O4. Look, we know what we're getting largely. There will be the odd thing we don't know about. You know, DJI, you know, there are some stuff that isn't clear yet. You know, could DJI also introduce the stabilized like they have now on this and the Neo, you know, the stabilized live view. That would be really cool. Could they introduce, it's not really much else, but you've got the stabilized live view, you've got some of the more intelligent stuff. Could they do that on this? Yeah, absolutely. There is definitely little tweaks and stuff that they can do. We just haven't seen it. You know, and the light is interesting, but remember, it comes with a payoff. It's lower RF power. There's also another huge elephant in the room on the light, which people really are going to need to be careful of, is we don't know what the power consumption is on the light yet. And remember, when you're talking 1 to 3S, which the light will work on, at 1S, if it's drawing, you know, it looks like it's drawing around 10 watts of power. That's a lot of power consumption. You are going to kill a 1S battery very, very quickly. I still wouldn't class this as a 1S board. 2S onwards, really. Because digital, and this is the same problem for Caddx, and it is the same problem for HD0, digital is power hungry. That is a problem. And that is going to be something we need to understand. I don't know if DJI have been able to do anything magical. Let's see. But power consumption for 1S is a problem, and it is too heavy for 1S. And how low, yeah, and Carl has made, there's loads of stuff. There's so much we've got to understand. You know, if you think about this, right, as he rightly says there, how low it will go before it browns out, number one. How the race mode works and the interactive behavior between the other systems is. How, what's the gotchas from DJI? What's the 1S6P? You got me with that one. I like that. What are the gotchas? There's always gotchas. You know, look, we've already had a view of what it can look like, and it is this. So now we just take the next step. Is it going to fundamentally change FPV? No. Because O3 didn't fundamentally change FPV. The original DJI FPV system did. This isn't going to fundamentally change FPV. All this does really is bring DJI back fighting a little bit. Is what it does. And it's good to see. I'm happy about it. I think everyone will be happy about it. Won't suit everyone. There will be some downsides, but let's wait and see. So that's that. That's where we're at with DJI. We're going to wait and see. Now, whilst we were talking about digital FPV, it's probably a good time to talk about this thing quickly, and that is the Caddx repeater. Now, it is on pre-sale for $529, and I have it here. Caddx very kindly sent it out to me to review, and I am going to be doing a video on this. I'm in the middle of doing a video on this. They didn't send it to me originally. I had to ask them for it. They left me off the list. I don't really know why. I don't know if I've upset them. But they did kindly respond to my email once I reached out to them. It is interesting. There is some interesting things about this. I can't tell you about the latency yet. I haven't done the testing. That's where I'm up to the latency testing. Wes, I need some help. I need an Express ELRS repeater, please. How do I do it? This is interesting with regards to how it works between the goggles and the VTX, and something particularly interesting on this is its RF behavior. There is a real unusual thing on this that we've not seen from Caddx before, and that is that the 5.2 gig side actually transmits on 2 antennas and not 1, which we've not seen from Caddx before. How did it manage the mismatch? I haven't seen too much of a problem on the goggles with the mismatch, and that is a real issue Caddx have. Caddx are going to need to make some goggle antennas for 5.2 gigs quickly because they don't exist anyway. You cannot find RPSMA 5.2 gigs antennas. For anyone who's tried, they just don't exist. They just don't exist. So I've been having to run it on the 5.8. Even True RC, yeah, they have two, but they're not available and they're expensive, but they're not available. They're out of stock. Caddx, I believe, are going to make some antennas for the goggle side. I've done a full teardown on it, and we've had a look at it internally as well, and there's some interesting things. Well, there isn't really even any SMA antennas, let alone RPSMAs. Trying to find 5.2 gig antennas isn't easy. I still don't fully understand why Caddx chose to change the downlink frequency. And I would argue, and they could do this with a firmware update, I think Caddx should have an option on this to do 5.8 gig upload. Because there is no reason to move the downlink. Genuinely, there is no good reason to move the downlink. As long as... Okay, there is a good reason, because what they don't want is one side of the unit shoving noise over the other side of the unit. But with good filtering, they could have put it on separate channels. And that is a potential issue. Separation, yeah, more channels, it's less of an issue because, yeah, you're getting 8, but who needs 8 when you're using this? But there is some interesting stuff around it, and so far, I haven't got into the real world testing yet. Now, to test this, I am not going to be doing flight-based testing. I'm going to be doing ground-based rover testing with this. You will see the rover come back out because that is the plan. And I'm not saying I'm not going to be flying in the video because this might be strapped to the bottom of a Mavic. But the majority of the testing for legal reasons will be done on the ground here in a situation that I wouldn't be able to get video without it. So we will prove it works. We will test it. But yeah, it is definitely an interesting device. That's for sure. So, yeah, work in progress. I'll be honest, the real complaint is I cannot believe Caddx didn't put an XT30 on this. They've put a really stupid power connector on this. I don't know if anyone's seen what power connector on this. It's a typical JST. I can never remember which one it is. There you go. I cannot believe they didn't just put an XT30 on the board. It's madness, really, considering it's a portable device. You know, I ended up making up a cable, but the annoyance is you're just going to get it damaged. It really should have had an XT30 on there. Just should have had an XT30 or an XT60. There's plenty of space. Space wasn't the issue. Aluminium outside casing. Something that is very interesting, though, in it is they've used multi-in, multi-out on one side, but not the other. And this is the first time on that ground side we've seen multi-in, multi-out from Caddx. They haven't done it before. Very interesting. So I ended up having to just bodge a cable together. I've put tape over this just to hold the wires together to stop them separating. It's actually all heat shrink tubed nicely. But I just put like a wrap of tape around it to stop the cables separating apart because I didn't have any shrink tube big enough. Yeah, time to crack it open and machine out a bigger hole for the connector, definitely. So, now, before we move on, I just want to thank ELRS for the $10 super chat before the £10, I should say. I've lost, you know, just I was looking at it, it vanished. The £10 super chat before the stream started. Thank you, my friend. I really appreciate that. I really, really do appreciate it. Thank you for that. Super chats are welcome, but not required. So, That's that. If you've got any questions on those two, please do let me know. Let me just go back up. There was a couple of things I missed earlier. MadTech, what was your biggest problem with O3A units, say flying with the DJI controllers? Yeah, I never liked the DJI RC Link. And yes, in theory, I actually, that's probably the one bit I don't know a great deal about is the RC side on O4. I'm expecting it to be the same behavior. There's no reason it wouldn't be the same behavior as the Avata 2. So if you're using it with the Goggles 3, you would use the RC3. If you're using it with the Goggles 2, you'd use it with the RC2. I guess, and I don't know, genuinely there are still things I don't know. I guess we could see motion controller support. Could DJI do that and translate that out over S-Bus? Definitely. They could absolutely do that. Be interesting to see. Or USB Type-C, someone just said, yeah, that would be better. Plug that in with the gloves on. Gilmore Nestpool, where can I find the Bangla 5000 spare parts? I don't know what that is, I'm afraid. I have a question. What do you think about 3.3 gigahertz analog? I saw Gep RC 4-watt VTX. I have intentionally steered away from all of this high-power analog stuff. A, because it isn't legal in the UK anyway, but there are lots of things that aren't necessarily legal that I have talked about. However, let's be honest with ourselves. A bunch of this stuff, so if I go to Gep RC, a bunch of this stuff has been made for, I don't know, some region over in the eastern part of the world where stuff's going on. They've got their Matin 3.3 gigahertz. I don't really see the benefit of 3.3 gigs over 5. Is it really going to help much? You may as well just go 5 gigs. It's lower frequency, yes. I don't know. Look, I've steered away from some of this stuff. And then the problem with something like this is you're stuck into their system at 3.3 gigs. So not really interested in that, if I'm honest. I just don't think. The Radiomaster GX12 with the correct firmware is compliant, yes. As long as you use the LBT firmware. Someone was asked about RP4 TDM. Which one's that? What's the RP4 TDM? I've not, that one slipped through me. There was have I not talked about this one? So this is a small Diversity Express ELRS, True Diversity Express ELRS receiver. Okay. No, I'd not seen that one. Not a bad price, $19.99. Not really aware of that one. Ahem, be safe to use with DJI controllers. It'll be interesting to see what they've changed. It will be interesting to see what they've changed, because controllers on DJI is complicated, because you've got to decide what you want the behavior to do. Because in theory, see, DJI's remote setup works really well with their consumer drones, because in the event of signal loss, the link will trigger return to home. You've got GPS, it's fine. The problem you always had with the original Goggles 2, oh God, I'm moving stuff off here, Goggles 2 and the original remote was you had the goggles communicating with the ear unit and the remote communicating with the ear unit. And then you always had this situation of, what do you want to trigger? Do you want the remote to stay connected in the event of goggles signal loss? Or do you want the remote to drop connection in the event of goggles signal loss? Because remember, your remote is working on 2.4 gigs and your goggles are working on 5.8. So in theory, your goggles link will drop before your remote link and you're left in this situation. Ideally, what you want is the remote to continue to work beyond the goggles link. And the problem we had with the Goggles 2 and Integra with the FPV Remote 2 was you had this really crazy behavior that the second the goggles lost their link, the remote link dropped as well. But the triggering of failsafe was not reliable. But then what could happen is the remote link will reconnect again to the drone after about 5 seconds on its own. Now, I didn't really have an issue with the remote link dropping with the goggles. I would have preferred the remote link to stay connected on its own. Where the issue is this drop and reconnection, because what you then get is your aircraft potentially not enter failsafe properly, and that was the risk. And there was also some horrible behavior around the way it triggered failsafe. I was never comfortable with it. They did improve it. They absolutely improved it after I made a lot of noise and the community kicked off about it, but it was never right. Now, in theory, with Goggles 3, this problem changes because the ear unit remote and the remote don't necessarily communicate. I say necessarily. On the Avata and the Neo, the remote communicates with the goggles and the goggles communicate with the drone and it passes it along. If they do that with O3, Goggles 3 and Remote 3, then in the event of goggles signal loss, you are going to lose the remote signal and it will trigger failsafe. And things will behave tidier because you know what's happening. One goes, the other goes, return to home kicks in. Happy days. However, DJI still have the option, even on the FPV Remote 3, of it communicating directly with the remote. Because whilst today they don't, they can communicate separately. So we could see something different. What if they separated the video and the controlling processing? That would help. But that was always the problem we always had, was this quirkiness in the behavior. So in the end, I think I would probably always say don't use the DJI remote. I'd like to be able to say don't use the DJI remote because I don't think it's the best solution, rather than it being bloody dangerous. Is the way I would like to be. I don't think there's anything DJI could do that would make me recommend using the DJI remote, because I still fundamentally believe you are better going out, buying yourself something like this, buying yourself something like this, go and get yourself a Pocket, a Bumblebee, whatever radio you want, and use that. And that will work on all your aircraft and you don't have to worry about it. But what would be great was if the DJI remote system wasn't an actual risk. And that would be good. But let's see. Again, I still have a fundamental problem with DJI's remote pricing. Where it sort of makes sense is if you've already bought this and you've already bought the remote, you can build yourself an O4 drone and not have to go and spend more money. That actually makes sense. What doesn't make sense in any world is this, which is, what is the price of this thing? I think it's over 150 quid, isn't it? 140 quid. That's an absolute joke. That is an absolute joke, considering what they've now done. Bearing in mind the remote has a basic Bluetooth chipset. And it has no screen. Basically, it is the cheapest to, if that remote was $70, $80, I'd be with you. They even took one battery out of this remote compared to the old one, if you watch my teardown. Honestly, so the price of this is my fundamental issue now. Even if they make it all work, it just doesn't make sense. It just doesn't make sense. And it is horrible in manual mode. If you've used it in manual mode, it's a joke, really. Let's be honest. But, Lon, you are right. It would be nice if it wasn't a safety issue and more a... And look, safety issue is borderline. It would be nice if it worked properly, but wasn't that bloody price. Because that pricing is a joke. Yeah, and look, you could do that today, but again, it's still a bad investment in the long term. In the long term. Okay. Radiomaster Boxer or the new Gemini radio? Okay, so it's probably time to quickly talk about... I've lost it. It's here. The GX12. Now, obviously, it's out, so I can talk about it. I like this radio. I like this radio a lot. This is now going to be my go-to radio. That's a fact. I've broke my Boxer. I'm lucky I got a couple of Boxers, so I'm actually okay. But I think this fits all the bills now. Does it worth the change TX16 to GX12, or should you just buy the Nomad module? Like, if you're happy with your TX16, get the Nomad module. Just do that. There's no need to change your radio if your radio's fine. What this is another option for people. Now, obviously, there's been some... I don't know if controversy is the right term to use, but like I've had a lot of questions around a couple of things. There's been some highlighting of what it's like for pinchers. I think it's fine. I honestly don't see any issues with it at all. I think you do get... I think you do get used to where you put your fingers. You know, that's what I'm like. That's how I hold a radio there. Let me just get my hands in the right place. I also always wear a neck strap, so I'm not particularly worried. It's fine. If we go to the overhead, zoom out a little bit. Oh, that's dark tonight, isn't it? Let's bring that up. There you go. You know, I'm a hybrid myself. That's how I fly. It's fine. I got no issues with the switches. Nice and easy reach on them. Nice and easy reach on them. For me, it's okay. What I like about this compared to the Boxer. So, three things compared to the Boxer. Number one, it now has these buttons up here, which are basically usable. On the Boxer, these are flat to the surface, and you can't feel them. So, I like the fact that these are now feelable. They stick up well above the surface. Just look there. You can see there. They are really pronounced. So you don't have to lift your goggles up to find the buttons. They're all there. Number two, they are now fully customizable. So they're fully programmed into the MCU and they are fully customized. You can set them to 6 positions on one output, 2 3-position outputs, 3 2-position outputs, a 2-position output, a 1-position output, and a 3-position output. You can do what you want on these. That will be coming to these as well in the future. It's not here today. Folding sticks is really nice. It's always a nice feature, folding sticks, just like that. It is basically the same as you got from TBS. I like the new gimbals. No real complaints on them. Nice and solid. Absolutely great. And the fact that it has the new module built in. You don't have to stick a module on the back. And that's what I like about it. You know, it's not magical. It's not fundamentally. What the T15 can't do is the dual module. And that's the difference between this and the T15. The T15 was a very nice radio. And I actually said, I think the T15 jumped ahead of the Boxer. I absolutely said that at the time. For me, this now it rounds it all off. There are two things that let the T15 down. It doesn't support Gemini or the dual band option, but also the gimbals. They are not great. You know, they're just not great. But look, it's not no radio is perfect, but you still need a Gemini receiver. Yeah, no, you don't have to have. You only need a Gemini receiver if you want Gemini. If you just want to use, if you want to use 868, 900 or 2.4, you just use your existing receiver. You can use the older receivers with these radios absolutely fine. If you go to the Express, ELRS, Gemini X. If we go to the actually Radiomaster, I think Radiomaster have the chart, do they? Let me just have a look here. Have they got it? Here we go. So on the Radiomaster website, and this is on the Express RS website as well, but it's quicker for me to find it on Radiomaster. So if we open up this image, so it's called the Nomad, but this needs updating now because this should be Nomad GX12, just so we know the differences. So look, there are some modes that you can't use. So you don't have the FLRC modes when the module in this because they're not available. So you can use the LoRa modes. So you got the LoRa 500, 333, 250, full 100 and 150. They all translate across. Wes will remind me there are faster modes coming, aren't there, Wes, in the future with the old, aren't they? I can't remember. There is something you shared on this, or it's somewhere and I just can't remember. Keeping up with this stuff is a bit of a nightmare. On the 900 side, it works with all of them. You do lose some of the very fast modes here, but you still got 500. You still got 500. But there's the new faster modes are coming in the future. You're going to end up seeing more and more move to the LR1121. You're just going to see more and more over time. It's inevitable that you will see more and more over time. But yeah, look, that's the compatibility. You don't have to use Gemini X. You don't have to if you don't want to. The real amazing thing about this new chipset is you don't need an external module. So you'll be able to use your 868-900 or 2.4 and you just change the setting and crack on. You don't have to worry about a module. You don't have to worry about that. You can just change it, So it's good. Look, people will choose the radios that best suit them. Look, no one should rush out and go, oh my God, I need to get a new radio. Already a K1000 that's right. That's already here, isn't it, Wes? 4.0 will bump it to K1. Yeah, I knew it was in the works. I just couldn't remember. So what Wes has said, it's already here. K1000 is the new 1000 Hz packet rate on the 900. Donkey Kong for 2.4, which is only 500 Hz via FSK, but 4.0 will bump that. So yeah, so is that, Wes, where you're saying Donkey Kong for DK for 2.4, that will basically be a new mode, won't it, alongside the LoRa 500 mode? Look, no one should run out and buy a new radio if they're happy with their radio. There's no need to. You don't need to change anything. If I was buying today, my choice is this. If they brought out a dual band Gemini module Boxer tomorrow, my choice would still be this. For a few reasons, and those few reasons are the more pronounced buttons, the OLED display, and yeah, I still like that. If they brought out an OLED display Boxer with more pronounced buttons and that Gemini X receiver, I think I'd find it very hard to choose between the two. There's not a lot in it at that point. DK500 is FSK, yeah. It comes down to that. Now, what was interesting is a lot of people in the review came back and said they cried foul over Radiomaster and everyone being anti-jumper, and why are not people showing it against the jumper radio, and why are people not talking about the new jumper Bumblebee? So I'm going to address two of these things straight out. So let me be crystal clear. Radiomaster or anyone else, I do not, on this channel, I do not accept paid reviews. It doesn't exist. So for starters, there is not a paid review. Anyone who wants to sit there and say, I think this review is paid, it's never. I have never accepted money for a paid review on this channel. You cannot have a paid review. A paid review is not a review. It's an ad. It's not possible. It's simply never going to happen. I have had sponsors on this channel, such as Grey Arrows Drone Club, who have sponsored the DJI stuff. They are fantastic. But paid reviews don't exist. Secondly, Radiomaster do not pay people for reviews. Ignore everyone else. Radiomaster do not do it. It is not something they even do. So end of. As for, oh, but they're only going to say nice things about affiliate income because they get the affiliate income. Stop talking bullshit. If you think, I don't know how much, I think Radiomaster have paid about, I get about $20 a month from the Radiomaster affiliate, I think. Something like that. 20 to 40, okay? It isn't worth it. I may as well not do it. That's the truth. But I like Radiomaster. They're a brand I trust. And the thing. And I just don't... It's not worth it. So let's get these two pieces of nonsense out the way. No one pays for reviews. I don't even do paid reviews. I don't do paid content on this channel. End of. Doesn't exist. Secondly, as for why did we not compare it to Jumper and others? So let me just grab the Boxer, because people have asked, how did I damage my Boxer? I dropped it on the table in here. So there it is compared to the Boxer. And I do show this in the video, just as the video. So people asked, well, why didn't I show it next to the Jumper? Well, there was two reasons. Number one, I didn't even think about the Boxer. I didn't... sorry, not the Boxer. Why didn't I compare it to the Jumper? Number one, I didn't really even think about the Jumper. I'll be honest, I thought people would look at these two, right, and already know they're the same size. You just go to the manufacturer specs website, and where am I going here? I already thought people would know what they're like. I compared it to the radios that were different. The Boxer, the Zorro, which are Radiomasters, but I just thought, it's the same size. Look at it. It's next to it. It's the same size radio. I just never thought. I just never thought. And that's why I did the follow-up video. Secondly, I've had a lot of questions asking why people think Radiomaster are preventing people talking about this, which is the Bumblebee from Jumper. Now, do you know why I have not talked about this radio? And here's why. Because I didn't know about it. And I forgot about it. Someone posted it on my Discord a little while ago. And I sort of saw it for 10 seconds and thought, don't see anything particularly interesting there. But okay. And then I forgot about it. If you want to know why creators are not talking about this, go ask Jumper. Because Jumper are not contacting creators. They've not contacted me. They didn't even send me an email to say, hey, we've released this new radio. They didn't send me a WhatsApp message, an Instagram message, however they usually contact me. Nothing. So, if the brand is not talking to creators, then creators, reviewers, are not going to make content about it. And that is the problem. So anyone who has an issue of why is everyone talking about Radiomaster and not talking about this? Because Radiomaster contact creators and say, hey, we've got this product coming. Here's all the information. Would you like to see it? They don't just do it. Would you like to see it? Up to you. No pressure. If you can, you can. If you can't, you can't. Don't worry about it. So, the reason you're not getting anything is because they're not talking to people. Now, as for the Bumblebee, look, straight up, my first thoughts are, well, it's basically a pocket copy. Let's be honest here. It looks a lot like the Radiomaster Pocket. It came out after the Pocket. Basically looks like a copy of the Pocket. I find it interesting they say innovative design, and I'm going to be harsh here because I think it is somewhat a copy, although it does have some nice unique features. So it has the 6 programmable buttons. It is available in 868, 900 or 2.4 gigs, and it does have up to 1 watt of RF output, which you can't have on the Pocket. So it definitely has some benefits over the top of the Pocket. It absolutely does. I'm not going to pretend it doesn't. 915 and 2.4 maximum RF output. But let's be honest here. It looks like a copy. It does have slightly bigger gimbals than the Pocket, I believe. It takes two 18650s. It's got an external boot O button, which is handy. But let's be honest, it does look like a copy. I also noticed something, and I don't know, has anyone here got this radio? Because if you have, I have a question. So look, this is the top corner buttons and switches. Not at all like the Pocket. But they've added these ones again. And it's almost a mirror, right? Let's go to the overhead of this. So if you look, you've got these two. Have they hinged them on this inside again? These buttons are horrific to use. Honestly, these buttons, if anyone's got this radio, you will know what I mean. These buttons are terrible. They are so hard to press, these corner buttons. And it looks like they've got the same ones. Or are they two-position rockers? Is that what they are? Perhaps that's what it is. I can't tell. They're not hinges. Do they just rock? Either way. Oh, that's better at least. At least that's better. Because these are horrific. Honestly, if anyone's got this radio here, you will know what I mean. These only hinge from the outside, right? They will not go from the inside. Can you see the pivot point there? And when you're holding this radio, the worst thing on this radio is there's nowhere to put your fingers. They don't pop in and out. They pivot from the outside. No pivot. Oh, that's good news. That's good news. Thanks for your V feature. Because that's like the worst button I've ever used on a radio. Honestly. This for me was just like, what are you doing? See, you can see it there. You can't press there. See, look, you got it. And when your finger's on it, it's really hard to press. Really hard to press. If they were easy, it wouldn't be so bad, but my God, are they stiff. So, yeah, that was it. So, but look, here's the truth. If people want to know why I haven't spoken about the Bumblebee, they didn't send one. I can't talk about it. I could order one in. Do I really? How much is this thing? How much can I get it for in the UK? Look, the problem with a product like this is, right, I will never get the money back on a review. But if people are interested in a review of it, that's my job. So, it's available on AliExpress for $71.99. How much can I find it in the UK? Let's have a look. $72. View available models. Oh, it's in stock as well. I can get it in yellow in the... I don't like the yellow. I'm not a fan of yellow. One of the reasons I really didn't can you compare how much space you save when transporting the Boxer GX12? I wouldn't say there's space saving. What you don't need is to worry about the gimbals. Look, the radios are very similar. You're not really saving space. It's not really a smaller radio. Why didn't Radiomaster make a folding antenna for the Boxer? I don't know. Genuinely, I don't, because they did it on this. See, these are lovely. Yeah, the antennas. I like the antennas. The case is smaller, yes. It's a little bit smaller. It's a little bit smaller. But it's not dramatic, you know. But look, I think it's a nice addition to the radios. It's certainly not going to be for everyone. No radio is. I do think it's the most complete radio available on the market today. That's the fact. That's the truth, where I think it is. I think it's the most complete all-in-one that there is. I don't care about the fact there isn't a colour touchscreen. That's fine for me. I don't really want a touchscreen on a radio. I just want the lower profile antenna on my Boxer, not give up so much range. Yeah, the Boxer sort of, compared to a Tango 2, I don't have a Tango 2, so I can't compare it. Tango 2 will be a bit smaller. But yeah, you know, look, I think it's the most complete radio of them all. That's a fact. So, you know, you're not going to think, see, I've broke my Boxer. I need to get a switch for it. For those who don't know, I dropped it, look, and fucking pinged that switch in. That one's a goner. That's the only one I've done. Do you know, actually, I'm going to tell you one. See, look, that one's a goner, unfortunately. Other than that, that's fine. This radio's had a lot of use. Yeah. Such a good radio. Honestly, such a good radio. Yeah, I bounced it and it fucking broke the switch. Problem is, the switch is on the PCB. Here's the one downside. The one downside. And there is a downside. Who can guess what it is? Who can guess what the downside is on the GX12? What is the downside?
Welcome to HTX.
I don't have my bling. It's got CNC gimbals, but I don't have my bling. No LEDs. I've always loved how the LEDs look on this radio. I have always loved. No, I got a Mambo. Yeah, it's the Radiomaster kit. Yet. But I've always loved the LEDs. Needs the gold trim CNCs. Yeah. Yeah, I always look. I'm very lucky. I own a Boxer Max as well, but it's not my day radio. This was the first one I was sent. This is the one I've used ever since. This is the pre-release. This is, and it's the radio I've used ever since. And Radiomaster very kindly sent me out a Boxer Max about a year later, which I reviewed on the channel. But that was always going to be my next one. The box. Can you turn the LEDs on and off? No, you can't, unfortunately. That would be cool, wouldn't it? But I do, look, the Boxer, it's a phenomenal radio. And look, I'll be honest, I will probably, the thing I most on the Boxer is the placement of the potentiometers. Yeah, they're not the greatest position. Such a good radio. Such a good radio. Such a good radio. I don't even bother with the module cover, look. I leave it off because I do shove a module in the back at times. So I just, you know, it's a bruiser of a radio for me, this is. And this does take the big battery. Remember, you can get the 6,200 milliamp hour in this. So I do use this. But I do think that's probably the most complete radio. What's the favourite? I think the favourite is the Boxer. That, I think, is the best value now. I think this is the best value. It's still been my favourite. The question is, how long before Radiomaster make the Nomad module that's available for this available separately? And then I'm going to shoehorn one in there. We'll do that. We are going to do that on the channel. We are absolutely going to do that on the channel. Although, I say that. Where is it? There is a Nomad module here. Why don't I just put the Nomad module on it? The Crush version is better value. Yes. But no. So, that's the radios. Enough radios. We don't need to keep talking about radios. That's the radios. We know where we're at. Would it also fit? It'll fit, you know, look, there might be some customization needed in a grinder. The only problem with the Boxer is it's very narrow. Very narrow in the middle section. That's always been a bit of a problem on the Boxer. Should I upgrade from the Pocket? It depends if you're happy with it. If you're happy with it, you can put a module on the back of the Pocket. You can put a Nomad on the back of the Pocket. OLED screen size versus the box. It's the same size screen, it's just OLED. I'm 99% it's the same size. He said that, and I'm 99% it is. Yes, it's the same size screen. Now I've looked at it, it is definitely the same size screen. Could you swap? Potentially, yeah. Yeah, you could absolutely put the Boxer module inside the Pocket. You could, yeah. Maria Tech, reach out to me on Discord. Just send me a message somehow, and we'll figure it out. 1 watt for ELRS in the Pocket. Okay, mate, let's go. What is the best thermal imaging camera for PCB diagnostics? Someone that does not have a clue. Okay, so on the thermal cams, the best one I've used... There are two I'd recommend. So there are a few versions of these thermal cameras. One of them, my favourite one to use of the two, right? So the P2 Pro is probably the best value. But my actual favourite is... Oh, which one is this? Can't remember the model number. And the annoying thing about this one is I've only got this one in Lightning connector, which is annoying because I'm not using an iPhone anymore. So this is, I can't remember, it's infrared. They're both infrared, right? So the infrared P2 Pro is really good. The only reason I like this is this has got a variable focus lens. It's as good as the P2 Pro, but with a variable focus lens. But I need an Android-based version of that now. If we go to infrared, I think it's the T2. I've reviewed it on the channel, I just can't remember which one it is. Let's go on to infrared. Actually, that might not be the right one. Because I got 3. I've actually got 4. It's not. It's this one. It's the yellow one. Yes. So it's the same camera. But it has a variable focus lens. And that's actually a bit better. Is genuinely the truth. It's a little bit better. I can't actually see the model of it though. T2S. It might be the T2S. That's interesting. Is it the T2? That looks a lot like it, but that doesn't quite look the same. It might be the T2S Plus. That's, yeah, there you go. T2S Plus. That, I think, is probably the best one. And the reason I say that is it's got a variable aperture lens, so you can really get in close and adjust the lens. Whereas the P2 Pro has a macro lens option. So the difference, I mean, is this. Where's the overhead? Lost it. So this camera, and this has had loads of use, has your standard lens, which is there, and then you have a macro lens, which goes over the top, and it allows you to get in closer. That works really well. This one is variable focus. So you can focus the lens for different use case. So I'll be honest, I think this is the better one. The only downside is I've only got a Lightning version of these, and I don't have an iPhone no more. I do have an iPhone, but I don't. So that's the only downside to this one. But the P2 Pro is probably one of my favorites. Honestly, that thing is phenomenal. I use a piece of PC software. So for those who haven't seen, and I have used it on here before, I use IR Cam. I bought this. It's $100, this software. I was given a version originally, and then I bought it. But IR Cam is a thermal piece of software for the PC. So if I use that and I keep here a USB-C connection, and if I plug this in and go to Settings, P2 Pro Connect, and then go to Stream, you can now see, but this software is phenomenal. Absolutely phenomenal. It has so many features, it's crazy. It really does. You have dual color palette options, you have... There's so much on this. You can do highest temperature, center temperature, lowest temperature, but you even have dual color palette sections. So you can turn on. So what you can do is, where is it? Add a region of interest. So you can do temperature regions of interest, but you can then even add a second color palette, which I need to find where it is. Split view. So you've got a split view, which allows you to do zoomed. One area zoomed and one area not. Okay, and the split view, you can adjust what the split view will look at. So we can turn that off. We don't need that. Let's clear all of the... delete all. Thank you very much. That's the zoomed area. So you can move the zoomed area around or change the size of it. So you can do stuff like this. I can look there at my monitor, so you can do stuff like zoom into specific areas and look at specific areas. It's really cool. It's just got so many features. It's crazy. It's also got a really good enhanced mode, because this is enhanced. So when you turn off the enhancements, you can see it there, and then you can tell it to enhance the image, and it smooths it out. And for electronic repair, you put on the macro lens, and then fire up a board like I've got here. Is there power on that? No, there isn't. Let's just put power onto this, and then I will show you. So there. And then on this board, we can start looking really closely at things. So we can then start going in and looking on that. I've got the camera upside down at the moment, so I'm struggling, but you can use it for looking at stuff like that. It's really good. Really good. This software is just, it's worth every penny. If you're doing repair work, it's worth every penny. Genuinely it is. The annoying thing with this camera is, right, my cable needs to be the other side, so I always struggle with it. So if I just move that there, now I'm the right way round, and now you can see, you know, you can get in really close. The software does have a compatibility list, yes. So just turn that power off. It doesn't work with everything. That's the list of cameras here that the software works through. A lot of the infrared cameras, but it works with some of the top dons as well. You can go to their website. It's got so many features, this software. It's insane, honestly. It is an insane piece of kit. It really is. Okay, so What else were we going to talk about? We spoke about that. We spoke about that. Right. Okay. Now, the last couple of days, I've been doing a lot of testing with these. Now, my review on these, which is the BDI antennas, British Stone Industries antennas, for the DJI Goggles 2, will be coming out in a few days, probably middle of the week. They are complicated with regards to... One of the big questions people will have is, do the antennas work? Do they offer improvement? And this is where things get a bit interesting, because the truth is, it is almost impossible to prove, unless you're going to fly very long range, if an antenna is going to give you an improvement over another. And the reason is this. DJI O3 is dynamic power, dynamic bitrate. Even moving just 1 inch, right, will have an effect on how DJI O3 performs. In height, in altitude. You can't just do a flight, test it, and do another flight and go, oh, it's better or worse around the field. The only things you could really do is if you did long range, like a man used to, loves beard oil and incense sticks. He used to do a lot of long range stuff, and he'd be able to prove things a bit differently. I have been doing some scientific testing. I've been doing some bench testing. My overall thoughts are, I will not tell you if these antennas are going to give you any benefit. It is impossible to tell you if any antenna will give you a benefit, because it depends your flying type. What I can tell you is these antennas are directional. They offer gain over the stock antenna. Cannot say if they're better than the true RCs. It's not possible to test it outside of a lab. And anyone who is telling you one's better than another, it's bullshit. Anything outside of a lab, it is not possible. You can't test it with O3 properly because of the dynamic behavior. The only thing you could do is fly very long range and then say compare 10 times the point of signal loss. And if you were able to demonstrate absolutely that one antenna gave you another 2 kilometers than another, then you're going to know. And that is the type of performance improvement you're testing. But flying it around a field, a bando, or anything like that is not going to prove anything. What I have done is I've absolutely proved that they make a difference in a static scenario. And just to demonstrate what I mean by this, I'm going to have to turn off my camera so you... Actually, let me move me over to there. There we go. So, okay. So here I did a static test with the goggles and a static test with the air unit. It's actually in my car. I left it parked up in my car out of the way. And I managed to set it up. So what you're seeing here is the air unit on these patches, right, at 3 megabits a second. Okay? So, oh, let me mute it because I was talking, that's my own audio. So at the moment, we are on the patches at 3 megabits a second. That's these antennas. That little bit of variation you're seeing are me moving my hands around, because even moving your hands around will have an effect. But the reality is there. Now, without moving anything, I then swapped over to the stock antenna, and you will see that change now in a second. I swap over and you will see the bit rate drop down to about 1 megabit a second. We'll just wait for it. In a second, you will see the shift. My hands are moving around it. You'll see this move around a little bit, and then you will settle. There you go. You can now see it's gone down to 1 megabit a second. So that is the DJI Omni antenna. So the difference is, in a situation with the DJI Omni gives me 1 megabit, these antennas will give me 3 megabits a second. Okay? So there is absolutely an improvement, without doubt. I then move the goggles slightly closer to do a second test. Here on the DJI stock antennas, I moved it to a point where I was getting 6 megabits a second. On the stock antenna, 5-6 fluctuation. And then you will see in a minute, I swap it out, you'll see it move around. and then you will see an increase. There you go. I'm doing 1. Wait for it. Here you go. I've now swapped over, and now we're at 9 or 10 megabits a second. So they are absolutely making a difference. They are 1 megabit a second on DJI stock antenna goes to 3 megabits on these. 5, 6 megabits goes to 8 or 9. There is absolutely a benefit to the antenna. What I can't tell you, though, is the difference it will make in real-world use. Because these are directional antennas. I've tested them. They are definitely directional. If you fly like that, you're not going to get good signal. They need to be pointing forward. They need to be behaving. But the reality is, battery level will not have any impact on these tests now. Ignore the battery level. It's fine. The battery was running low, but it was fine. As you can see, I've tested this 100 times. It has no impact. What you have here is the direct result without moving anything. The truth is, though, can I say these antennas will make any difference in the real world? And the answer to that is, I don't know. It's down to your scenario. I would not recommend any antenna over one or the other. The truth is, if you're flying around a field, it's probably going to do nothing. If you're flying very, very long distance, what Wes said, you'd probably actually compare the average bit rate to, say, 20 kilometers because you can't tell. Yeah, exactly, Wes. And it's really hard because the problem with DJI is it's variable power as well. So it's going to be... the only real way to test antennas, and I have started doing this, is with my spectrum analyzer with a fixed analog signal, not a digital signal. That is the only way I really found. You have to measure the signals on each and measure the amplitude and see the difference. That is the only way, because O3 is just so dynamic. You're going to have trouble. But I can prove these antennas offer a benefit. What that benefit to you remains to be seen. And the review will say, I can't guarantee anything. The spec of these is a little bit lower gain than the True RC. So in theory, the True RC should offer a little bit more gain, but that gain will come at the expense of directivity. And, you know, it's always a payoff. The bit people seem to forget is antennas do not create more signal. There's no magical answer. An antenna has a number of factors that affect its performance. So S11, efficiency, circularity, and a few other things. And then you've got gain. And all gain is, and I've said this a few times, gain is simply how directive the antenna is. A standard isotropic antenna with a 360-degree gain is 1.0. An antenna with 8.5 to 9.5 dB of gain is simply heavily directive in that direction there, like that, and very poor around here. But it isn't magical. It isn't increasing your signal. It is just more sensitive in a specific direction. And the term I always use for this is, take a candle and put it in a big empty room. That is an omnidirectional antenna. The light is shining all around. Then take that same candle and place a bunch of mirrors around it, pointing it forward, and that is a directional antenna. The intensity of the candle is the same. The brightness of the flame is the same. All you are doing is directing the light in a specific direction. And that is all an antenna is really doing. That is the difference. It doesn't, there's no magic here. Now, obviously, antenna efficiency, S11, which is tuning, all have an effect. But the truth is, the main down physics of an antenna is think of it like a light bulb, like a candle in an empty room. And all you're doing is changing where the light is going. And that's it. And that's an analogy I always use for antennas. Candle, a light bulb, it doesn't matter what it is. Just think of a light bulb or a candle in the center of a room. That's one antenna. That's another antenna. You'd actually say a candle is actually like an omnidirectional linear antenna because a candle actually has nulls. There's a null at the bottom of a candle. So a candle isn't really an isotropic antenna. A candle is actually more like a typical dipole to a point. But the complexity is, and that's the thing. So, look, when it comes to antennas, in the end, you somewhat have to trust the manufacturers telling you the truth. And then, you know, I think FPV gets so bent out of shape over antennas. People get so bent out of shape over antennas. It's not hard. It's directional or it's not, or it's really badly made. If it's not badly made, right, then it comes down to how directional it is. And that's it. It's that simple. With regards to these, someone asked, have I torn them down? I haven't yet. I haven't found a way of getting into them without damaging them. I don't really want to damage them. There's no screws on them as far as I can tell. I really like the design on these. I have to say, compared to the True RCs, I think it's a much tidier design. I love True RC antennas. I think Hugo's amazing. What BDI have done here is really nice. This joint mechanism, they've got this joint mechanism on it. It's really clean and tidy. It's a nylon joint. It folds down. They're designed to be used in the vertical position. You can use them horizontally, but they're designed to be used in the vertical. I like how simple and easy they fold in. It's a real nice design, and you could just use them like that if you wanted to. I can't quantify. I don't know if it's a single element or more than one. I haven't been in them. I don't want to break them. That's the problem. But this is a live stream, and we always know what happens on a live stream, don't we? Is there anything under there? No. So there's no sticker under there. There's no screw under there. So the next question is... see, there is a screw there, but that adjusts the tension. I did try... I need a pry tool. Oh, they're definitely clipped together. I've run out of plastic pry tools. There you go. They are glued a little bit. That's why I had trouble. There you go. So, dual element design. You see down in there. There you go. That tells you what it's like inside. .3D scans, prints, profits, yeah. There you go. I don't know what kind of antenna that is. I'm going to have to do a bit of research. But obviously, add some LEDs. Yeah, it does look really good. It would look really good, right, with a clear cover, wouldn't it? That would look really good with a clear cover. Now, I'm just going to hold this here a minute because I'm now going to have to use this footage in the teardown video. So I'm going to have to use this. So I'm going to sit here and go. So that is the inside of the antenna. Now, as you can see, the top here is glued on. It took a bit of prizing off, if I'm honest with you, but it did release. Now we've got our center element there, which you can see is nice and gold. And you can then see the reflector part of the element underneath as well. If I just flip it up on the side, you can see there that there's solder points that go down in the four corners, and then you got your center element, you got your driven element on the top here with your two pieces either side for your circular polarization, and then you got your back element there. I don't know exactly what you would call this kind of antenna, but I have to say inside the design looks quite tidy, quite clean, no complaints at all. I'd have preferred clips than glue, but I do get why glue may have been used. And obviously then behind this area here, you have the ball joint, and then you have the adjustment for that. And as I did show earlier, one of the real nice features is the fact that that coax cable folds up inside the antenna, and you can then see that it goes in underneath that back element. There you go. Sorry, that was me recording a part of a video. Live. I'll have to now cut that and shove that straight into the video. Wu-Tang. Wu-Tang. What Wu-Tang? Wu-Tang. I can't even say it, Captain Bry. So there we go. I actually like them. No complaints. But I'm not going to say run out and spend $50 on them. I don't think anyone needs to spend $50 on a set of antennas. But they definitely work. Yeah, put a bit of heat on that with the hot air gun and shove it back together. Agreed. That'll be fine. So, that's them. The review will coming up. I actually really like the design. I really like the design. No complaints whatsoever. So, that is that. Right. Let me just check. Was there anything else I had? Oh, yeah, just a quick one. So, I put the review out of the Moose scanner this week. For those who haven't seen it, consider checking it out. I actually really quite like 3D scanning. I need to get a bit more time because it's a insanely time-consuming process. But I put my first view of it out on the Moose. If you haven't seen the Moose scanner, it's not a laser scanner, so it's not as good as some of the laser ones. But it is quite cool. That is the device there. I created actually a bracket with the scanner for one of my cameras, and I even 3D printed the Winnie the Pooh, and no, it wasn't mine, it's my wife's. But it is very, very cool. But I tell you something, it is an involved process. The more you do it, the more of an involved process it is. I would love to open the app up to show you, but honestly, the app is so power hungry on the computer. I don't want to do it while I'm live streaming. But I did even scan the top of my Radiomaster, which was really, really cool. Would it work for scanning areas of automotive work for brackets or parts? Absolutely. Look, I think the lasers are definitely more accurate and better. There are certain components you're going to need 3D scanning spray on because it doesn't like blacks. It doesn't like blacks at all. Power hungry. I'm running a 5900X with 64 gigs of RAM, a fast SSD, and a 3080, and it slows it to a chug. So it uses some 3D scan my O4 drawing. I was thinking of doing that. I was thinking of doing that. But I did create some STLs, and I did, you know, I recreated that Winnie the Pooh. I 3D printed, for those who didn't see, a replica of the camera. So, sorry, let me, this was like an early rough one that I did. Oh, nope, that's not it. So this was the Thumb 2. And I did a scan and a print of this so I can make a bracket. It didn't come out perfect because this needed 3D printing spray because of the color. It really struggled with this, and obviously it couldn't do the lens. But the idea was I could scan a basic model to allow me to then make a bracket and a cover for it. This really didn't come out very well at all. What really came out was the Winnie the Pooh. The Winnie the Pooh just blew my mind. That was just incredible. And I put a lot more time into that. That was just brilliant. That really was just brilliant. JM Studio is their software. I'll try opening it. It's a bit... It's a bit of a sod, but it's a really cool, it's something I'm looking forward to doing a bit more with. I'll probably do something with O4 when it comes out. It'll be interesting to see around that. I don't know, did I save all of my projects? I did try scanning the Radiomaster Pocket, but I didn't get a great result on that for some reason. Let me unhide. I hid some of the files that I'd done, and I now don't know how to unhide them. See, there's files here, right? And you can hide them, look. You can open them. So I scanned the pocket. I do, yeah, the X1C is next to it. The X1C is right next to it. It's just you can't see it on camera. They both get used. I tend to leave them set up with different filaments. Oh, by the way, I have the new Bamboo Lab PLA. It's came in, and I'm going to be testing that. The AMS compatible PLA. I'll be testing that in the next week or two. I'm just trying to see if this wants to open. Getting the TPU, yes. So the new the AMS compatible TPU, I've got that in stock, and I've got some of the Aero PLA as well, which I want to test. It's resource intensive. It's just so slow. You know, I'm running a 5090, 64 gig of RAM and a 3080. It's not, you know, it's not high end, but a 5090 is no slouch. Looks like, yeah, the problem, I made a few mistakes on this scan, and that was part of one of my errors, and I've learned how to use it. Have I PPACF? No, I haven't. No, I haven't got a 50. I don't think I can afford a 5090 after the tax bill. See, it's still opening the project, look. It's so slow. I think there's about 6 or 7 scans in this. It's not so bad to use. It's the processing that's slow. So it's like when you open the project, 5900X. Yeah. So I've been tempted to upgrade, but I've been hanging back. I've seen nothing upgrade-wise. Yeah, I don't want to do anything while I'm streaming because it'll cause me a problem. Almost there. But I made some errors on this scan. The table is part of it, and it shouldn't be. And I didn't understand how to use it properly when I did this one. I learned a lot more later. So what you're seeing here is multiple scans with it not aligned. That's the problem here. So if we turn off the other scans, so which is the best one? Let's have a look. Which one is which? So that was the radio upright, but I hadn't scanned it properly. So this is a point cloud. I hadn't scanned it properly at this point. to include to automatically exclude the base, because you can do that. So you have it on a point cloud like this, and then you would process it, and what you would say is, I want to process it to a module level, apply, and then it will run it through the statistical noise removal, and then this. I don't know how long this will take. This is the problem. I haven't, and I've added texture mapping, and I can't remember, did I scan this with textures on or not? Because you can scan with and without textures, which is quite cool. So you can actually make it look like the device. And I'll actually, if I stop this, right, I tell you what I want to show you is the thumb, because I've already done this on the Thumb Pro. See, this is the problem now. Trying to stop this software is an absolute nightmare. Task manager, let's just kill this. JM Studio, end task. I'm just going to kill it a minute, and then I'll reopen it. I just now need to try and find out how to find. Oh, here we go. That was dodgy. Let's do it again. I know what I'm doing this time. Yeah, it's definitely CPU intensive. How much is a scanner? Now, it is, though, this one is... Right, I want to open... I want to figure out how I find the ones I've hidden. I've hidden, and I can't figure out how to get them back. It is... What am I looking for? Run cam. No. Thumb. How do you... This is the real annoyance about this software. It's like, how do you find the ones open? Ah, okay. Here we go. I found it. So, I've got a full 3D scan of this, and I'll show you this because this looks cool. This looks really cool. When the project opens, so bear with me. Now, I did this one properly, and this one I scanned with it under... You got to scan it to tell it what the base is first, and then it'll remove it for you. There's some cool... I think this one's about 500-600 quid, which is a lot cheaper than... I think even the cheapest Creality is a lot of money. So here you can see... So if we turn off that, there we go. So that is the 3D scan of the thumb with the texture mapping included. So you can now see how that looks externally with the texture mapping on. You know, I can show you the table scan view, which is that there. So you can see that's it there on the table. That's it there as a texture map scan. That's it there as the point cloud with the table removed. And then that's it there with the texture mapping added on. And look, you can even read the outside. It's really cool. Really cool stuff. You can see there it struggled on the lens. That's the SD card slot. That's a port on the side. You then got the holes. But you can see sort of the differences, and that's what I 3D printed. Now you can see it's not perfect, but this was yeah, it takes up some space. But you can see it's not perfect scan, but I didn't have 3D spray on this. I think it would have been much better with 3D spray because it's a dark black. It struggles on some stuff, but very cool. Such cool tech. Such cool technology. You know, this was the table scans. What's the file size for... I don't know. And that group there, I think, was all of the scans without the table. But very cool. Very cool indeed. Very cool. I'd love to try a laser. I'll be honest. What it is, though, is time consuming. But you can do some cool stuff with it. You can do some really cool stuff. If you want to watch the video, the Winnie the Pooh come out fantastic. I scanned one of my wife's statues. And he came out so good. So good. It blew me away. I was like, you could sell that on Etsy. Good. You could... I'm not saying because it's copyright, so we don't do that stuff, right? We don't do some stuff. We don't do that stuff. But you could take something, scan it, and do stuff like that. Naughty people could do stuff like that. Stu, I think, asked earlier, what camera do I use? I remember seeing that come up. This is a G9 from Panasonic, and that's a GH5. I use a G9 and a GH5. All MFT cameras. Yeah, I pull 4K in, Stu, so I'm coming in at 4K. I use the Camlink Pro 4K. So I bring up to 4 feeds in at 4K. I've only got 3 connected at the moment. But yeah, this is a G9. My main camera is a G9 with a prime 17mm lens, is what I use. And it's pretty clear. It's not Sony good. It's not Sony good, but it is pretty good. So I got a G9, GH5. That goes into a Camlink Pro 4K. I then have a Rodecaster Pro 2 for the audio, and a Stream Deck, and basically OBS. And I spent a lot of time one year getting this right. And bokeh. Look, there's Tony 2.0 at the back there. For those who know what I'm saying, let's see if anyone knows what I'm talking about. That's about Tony 2, Tony 3 behind me. For those who know the video, we've got to have a bit of Tony in the background. If you don't have your bit of Tony Northrup in the background. Do I live in New Jersey? No, I don't. Tony! Tony 2, Tony 3. Now, for those who haven't seen Camera Conspiracies, there is a video which you need to go and see, which is the intervention of Tony Northrup. It is a phenomenal bit of video. It is one of the best things I've seen. And it is genuinely phenomenal. Tony. Why are you fading away, Tony? I hadn't cried so much. I used to, and I haven't for some time, I used to watch a lot of the photography channels, that stuff. I still do. I love photography. I just don't get time for it much. But I watch more the gaming stuff these days than photography. I was watching the WAN show earlier. If anyone watches Linus, I still watch the WAN show on a weekly basis. And I watch a lot of Asianometry. A phenomenal channel, Asianometry. Honestly, that channel is top draw. I also watch Rep Performance in the UK for those who are into their cars and stuff. I'm not a big fan of Matt Armstrong. I like what Matt does, but I love Rep Performance. Those guys are phenomenal. There's some really great engineering channels that I watch. There's an engine teardown channel I watch where he just rips apart old damaged engines. I love that channel. That's another great one as well. Sorry, off current topic. Ordered a HD0 Nano 90 camera for 75. Is there a way to strip it down like Naked O3? Not really with the HD Zeros. Not really. Someone said, I wonder if you could put a camera under the spectrum analyzer and fly that spectrum analyzer out with a Mavic. I have thought about flying a little oscilloscope. You can get these pocket scopes. There was a reason for that. That was actually to try and prove about the TVS diodes, my little ongoing war with Wes and the Express RS team on TVS diodes. I was thinking of flying with one of the pocket oscilloscopes. You said the lighting. Yeah, I spent a lot of I'll be honest, I've spent I've spent a worrying amount of time messing with lighting over the years. The truth is, once you get it right, I got it right, and I've sort of got it there now. You know, it took a lot of getting there, but I've got sort of the look. The look needs to change, to be honest. It's been 2-3 years. It probably needs an update. I haven't changed the posters for a while. I probably need to order in some new posters. I probably need to get a Deadpool and Wolverine and replace that Deadpool. But as you can tell, a big DJI banner behind me. A big banner that says, fuck DJI behind me. I might do a video on the 13th with just fuck DJI banner across the screen. Sorry, the 12th. 12th, not the 13th. The 12th. Just the DJI O4, and I could launch it just before launch time, right? So I get the first video because I can do this. I could launch it just before launch time because I can go ahead, and it's just a banner that says fuck DJI going along. DJI O4, fuck DJI. I wonder if I could get more views than a review. That would be funny. I've got a month to think about a prank. I might do a prank. Just because I can. Because I'm free. I'm not under NDA. If I was under NDA, I couldn't do any of this. Get AI to make a rap dissing DJI. It would be funny. It would be funny. I could just start it going, as DJI chose not to include me in the O4 launch, I'm going to leave you with this. Oh. Tempted now. Anyways, we're going to wrap it there. Thank you, everyone. I want to say a big thank you to the Super Chat tonight from Iriske. Massive thank you. Thank you all for spending some time with me on Sunday night once again. We will probably be back same time, same place next week. Look after yourselves. Don't forget to check out the links to Patreon, Buy Me a Coffee, as well as Discord. Stay safe. Look after yourselves. Stay safe. And I will speak to you soon.